Good afternoon, everyone. I've finally made it on. I had been trying to get on my phone because last week when I got on live in the group, I was doing it from my computer and I couldn't actually see whether I was live or not. The screen went completely blank. So I thought I'll try my phone again this week and it wouldn't work. So I've worked it out now. I had to update my phone, which took ages. So here we are, Friday again. It goes so quickly. And we're finally, the rest of our family is finally well now. So it's nice to have our immune systems back and fighting. I found myself this week answering the same questions to probably 80% of my clientele. And when that happens, it means that I need to talk about it. So this week was a lot about women talking about their cholesterol and their weight. Literally 80% of my clientele was about this week. One of the main things that I found myself talking about was skipping meals and trying to get people's fibre up. So fibre, as we know, I bang on about it all the time, is really important for the gut. Just as skipping meals or working out what works for you in terms of meal pattern is just as important for your digestive system. And so I guess I was getting quite a few questions this week around the Fast 800, the 16-8 diet and fasting in general. And these come up, they tend to come up periodically. And the last time I got a whole lot of questions about this, I decided to watch a few webinars on it and I guess broaden my understanding about it. Fasting works for some people. It depends on your base meal pattern. So if you're used to just eating all the time and eating mindlessly, then fasting can be good because it gives you something to work towards. It gives you a goal. If you're a person that doesn't generally eat a lot, and you stick to your 3 meals per day, then the fasting doesn't really make a difference because you end up eating dinner. Say you eat dinner at 6 p.m. and then you don't eat breakfast in the morning until 7 or 8 a.m. Then you're already doing the fasting, that sort of timing that people are what's the word? Preach. That's the word. So in that sense, it can work for some people. If you're fasting to try and change hormones and metabolism and things like that, we don't actually know. We don't have the measurements to know how much that's working and whether it's right for your body and your own hormones. So the best advice and the thing that I have been saying to other people is see if it works for you. As long as you can get your nourishment in, you need to see whether fasting works for you. My concern is that if you restrict the times that you're eating, then you're going to be potentially restricting how much food you're having. And if that means that you're going to end up undernourished, and you can be overweight and undernourished, then that's going to be more detrimental for your health than what you believe that you might be doing to help with your hormones and your metabolism. So first of all, get a baseline of what you're doing, assess what you're doing. So are you eating regularly? The best way to do that is to keep a diary. Write down what you're eating for a few days, keep a diary, and then that gives you an idea of some of your patterns that you're doing. And then you start to think about what patterns need changing. So do I find that I'm snacking mindlessly after dinner, or mid-afternoon I'm starving and I don't care what it is I want to eat, I'll just eat whatever I can. Am I skipping breakfast because I don't feel like it, or because I feel like if I eat less then that's going to be better for my health? Work out where your baseline is and then do a bit of your own sort of research. Ask me questions on here. I'm happy to answer these sorts of questions. If you come to me and say, this is what I'm already doing, what's the next step? Where should I go from here? Should I be including breakfast again? Should I be eating only once a day? By the way, I would probably never recommend eating only once a day. It's not enough to get the amount of nutrients that your brain and your gut and your heart and your health needs overall. What I had found with all the women that I had spoken to, and it seemed to be all women this week, all the women that I had spoken to this week, was that people just weren't getting enough nutrition. So Some of them some people tend to eat really well when they have a structure in place. So if you're at work and you're working to your work structure, then that seems to work for some people because they have a break here, they take this food to work, so they tend to eat their, fruit for their snacks, and then they have their lunch whenever they have it, and then they have their breakfast because they've got to go to work and they know that they can't eat again. So that structure really works for some people. And then on days off, it doesn't. And what was common was I was finding that people are skipping breakfast and they're not really eating until later in the day, which means that they get less picky with what they're choosing to eat. So if they're choosing something, if it gets to 2 o'clock and you think, oh my God, I'm starving, I could eat just actually anything that's in front of me, then the chances are that that won't necessarily be a nourishing meal. And you've got to think about all of the fiber, the vitamins and minerals, the carbs, the proteins and the fats that you need to get in on a daily basis, the things that we call essential nutrients. You need to try and get those in every single day. You're not going to be getting them in if you're trying to pack all of that into one meal. So what does the body do? It thinks that it's in starvation mode, and it starts to go and look in your stores for these things. Now, we can store some things, we can store some nutrients, but the water-soluble nutrients we can't store very well. They get excreted out in our urine daily. So we do need to replace them daily so that they don't get depleted, which is why fruits and vegetables are very, very important as well. Starting the day, breakfast is probably the most common meal that people skip, but starting the day with a high fiber, some sort of protein breakfast helps you set it up for the day. And if you can start by getting fiber in the morning, then you're more likely to be able to getting closer to meeting those fiber needs. The other thing that I mentioned that I was speaking to people a lot about this week was their cholesterol levels. So, and the misconception that I was finding was I had found that people had cut out meat completely, and which if you want to do that, that is completely fine. But I actually find that there is more benefit in increasing something than cutting something out completely. So I find myself speaking more about increasing fiber types to help your body get rid of the cholesterol rather than cutting out lean fish or meat or chicken. The bigger impact is going to be adding fiber to your diet. Baker's Delight should be paying me, because at the moment I have been speaking about this to nearly everybody. Cape seed loaf from Baker's Delight, they now add something called Barley Max to it. And that Barley Max has so much clinical research behind it, particularly in cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes, as well as gut health. So it's like a triple whammy. And people are scared of eating bread. What I find is that people tend to be scared of eating bread because it's a carb and it's not good for you and it can irritate the gut. But if you're not a celiac or gluten intolerant, then there is nothing wrong with eating bread. And if it's a grainy bread packed full of fiber, and particularly with this added Barley Max in it, then it can actually enhance your diet, give you more vitamins and minerals, help your gut, help your heart health, help your blood sugar levels, instead of skipping a meal, which you're then hoping that you're kind of leaving your body to its own devices when you're skipping a meal. Another tip that I had found talking about this week was chia seeds seem to come up a lot. And not everybody likes them, and I don't particularly like the chia puddings, but have you ever made chia jam? It's very easy, and chia seeds are so high in omega-3s and fiber that they're actually, again, really good for the gut, really good for the cardiovascular system. And chia jam has hardly any sugar in it because you're just mixing fruit and chia seeds and sometimes you need a bit of water as well. But that can be a really good way to boost your fiber intake and your omega-3s, and to have it on the bread as well. I might pop a recipe up or a link to some of the recipes that I have been talking about this week in terms of chia jam as well. I hope that was informative. If anybody keeps a record, there is in resources tab in this group, there is a food diary. I actually will put in there, if it's not in there, I'll put it up, but it should already be in there. if you start keeping a diary and then you're able to recognize any patterns that are happening, send through as a message for a Q&A topic that you've noticed this pattern, where should I go next? This is what I want to achieve. What's the next step that I need to take? And I'm more than happy to answer it on this forum. Happy weekend, everyone. Bye.